Today is a really dope day because today I can tell the world that I have finished my Toni Morrison fiction collection. I have every piece of fiction that she has published. The short story and the novels, I have it all. Let's talk about it. If the excitement in my voice didn't give it away, Toni Morrison is one of my absolute favorite authors of all time. I cannot tell you how much I love her works, and having this complete collection of books means so much to me. Being able to say that I have all of her works, every piece of fiction that she wrote, and have read 5 of 11 of these already, it makes me thrilled and also sad about the future and the prospect of getting to continue to read her work. That means I'm gonna have less of Toni's books to read. But yeah, I have not found another author, maybe Percival Everett, who has 25 books and I've only read 4 of his. But besides Toni, Toni's my OG. Toni's my GOAT. I shouldn't say I haven't found another author that I love as much, because I have read Daniel Black is really good too. Percival Everett, I read a lot of his books, a lot of Daniel Black's. Who else have I read? Multiple of the same. Zora Neale Hurston, read a lot of her books. But outside of him, it's just Toni. It's just Miss Toni. But of these books, I'm gonna tell you the ones I've read already, what I've loved. And also these are just my fiction works. I also have nonfiction works. So Toni was the editor of this one, so this counts as a part of my Toni collection as well. She edited those Bones Are Not My Child by Toni K. Bombard. So I count this as a part of Toni's body of work because she edited it. But I also have Playing in the Dark, which is her literary commentary on whiteness and the literary imagination. Then I have 2 books about Toni at random, and then on Morrison, which these are great books as well. I'm reading this one kind of in companionship with all the books that I've read by Toni already. So I'll be kind of going back and forth between this book and the book I'm reading with Toni Morrison. So the Song of Solomon chapter, I've just finished reading, and I'm gonna go read the other ones that I have read already because I just got this book maybe about 2 weeks ago. But these are the nonfiction works, and I also have, The Source of Self-Regard. It had the slip cover for it, but it was dirty. I got it from Thrift Books, so I did throw it away. But this is The Source of Self-Regard by Toni Morrison. I have this one as well. But yeah, these are my babies, my whole Toni collection. But let's go through and talk about which ones I've read already, what I loved, what I didn't like so much, and then what I'm looking forward to read next. So I have read these 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess it's technically 6. I've read 6, but I don't count Recitatif because Recitatif is a short story. So I don't think that this counts as a book that I've read of Toni's, but I have the book, so I guess it is a book. But I've read Recitatif, I've read Beloved. This is still my number 1. I know this is her most selling book, the biggest one, but yeah, there's something special about this book. I ain't gonna lie, Beloved is just it's different. Song of Solomon, I just finished this not too long ago. So funny. This book is so funny. Nobody told me how funny this book was. It is hilarious. This book is really, really funny. I read Sula. Sula is also funny. I see how people love this book. I think it's good. It's just, it doesn't make the top list for me, I think. The Bluest Eye, which we all know how heavy this book is. Toni Morrison and this pen, man. And then I read A Mercy by Toni Morrison. But of course, it's all about Toni. A Mercy, which was one of her later works. I think it was her second to last book, and her second endeavor with people in slavery. Well, not her second endeavor, but this one I think was people were actually enslaved. I think it's as close to slavery as she's gotten besides Beloved, which leaves of her remaining fiction works for me to read 5 books. I need to read Jazz. I need to read Tar Baby and Jazz. I need to read God Help the Child. People have had great things to say about God Help the Child and Tar Baby. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I have to read Home. I think I want to read Home this month because the Ohio Celebrates Morrison book festival thing is reading that this month. So I think I'm going to read that one this month. Look at the copy of this book. Oh, I love this copy of Love. It feels so luxury. I love this copy. I think I'm going to get it. I'm trying to find a hardcover copy of Beloved like this because I love the way this looks and feels. Then I need to read Paradise, which I hear great things about Paradise as well. So the Beloved trilogy, I believe, is Paradise, Jazz, and Beloved. So I'm probably going to read Jazz and Paradise relatively close to each other. So I think my next one may be Home, and then Love, and then God Help the Child, Tar Baby, and then Jazz and Paradise. But yeah, this is my dog right here, Toni Morrison. Of these books that I've read thus far, I think my number one is gonna be Beloved. Beloved is just like, whew, it's everything, man. I just finished Kindred, and I didn't like Kindred that much. I'm not gonna lie, by Octavia Butler. I didn't like it because it felt like she was writing about slavery to white people to me. The magic wasn't all that cool in it, and I just felt like the entire time that I was reading that book, like I wasn't the person, like I wasn't the intended audience of it. Like it didn't feel like she was talking to me, except for when Sarah or Alice or like the slaves were talking to each other. And I don't know, I guess maybe that's some of the genius of the book. I don't think it was a bad book. I think it was actually a very good book, Kindred. But I think in comparison to a work like Beloved or like A Mercy, where the world revolves around the black character, and even in Kindred, the world revolved around Dana, I felt like it was just like she was talking to someone else. Like she wasn't talking to the black author. And that may just be my personal bias and perspective imputed on my reading. But with Beloved, and one of the reasons I love Beloved so much is because this book is for us, and it centers Setha and Paul D and Beloved and their experiences of slavery itself, and talks about like their humanness and how they survived it in spite of. And it doesn't make the whole story centered around like the viciousness and the horribleness of white people. But also, I guess that wasn't the point of Kindred. And I know I'm kind of like comparing apples and oranges, because Kindred here was to talk about the horrible legacy and the relationship between, Dana being born really as a consequence of rape through Rufus and raping Alice and all of that. But I don't know. I think there's another way to write about the atrocities of slavery. And I think that my preference is the way that Toni Morrison writes about it, because she finds a way to center our perspectives and our identities and the choices that people have to make, the impossible decisions. Same with Percival Everett and James. Like, they are able to talk about these things in a way that centers that person's humanity first and doesn't like take it out of body, make it an out of body experience that you're kind of like witnessing. It almost felt like Dana was like a person from today, from modern times, who was like peeping in on slavery, but also like not truly appreciating the level of like humanity it required you to suppress in order to be a good slave. And I think Toni Morrison's work is about recognizing the genius in suppressing, and the genius in survival, and the genius in the way that people navigated the toughest, worst situations and what slavery was. But yeah, Beloved is just like, this is my go-to. The language, the jokes in it, even like some of the conversations in Beloved are like I love authors who are able to take horrible situations or horrible times and make something funny. Like the joke between Paul D and the mail carrier, or I think he was the mail carrier, Stamps Paid, talking about how Setha would have killed the mailman if he came by at the wrong time or something. Like the way that she's able to weave that into like a tragic story and making mockery and making stuff funny, it's just like that. That's a gift, man. I love this book. This is my number one Toni Morrison book of all time. Beloved. I gotta get the other copy, like I said. Next up, let's see where I'm going next with my remaining stories. I think I'm gonna go Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon was good, man. Like I just put a video out about Song of Solomon. My full review of it is in there. But Song of Solomon, for me, the journey that Milkman goes on to learn who he is an amazing story. And I think that his ability to really come home to himself and really give himself the power to free himself from a situation that he lived in and like all the hell he was dealing with, I think that was like a dope story to read. And I just love the way she weaved all of the characters into it, weaved the blackness into it, weaved the death of Emmett Till into it, and weaved just like this black culture and identity and black villains, black heroes, just like the perpetual question of what is right and what is wrong. I think she just did a phenomenal job, and I love this cover. This is like my favorite cover of hers. I love it so much. But yeah, I love Song of Solomon. That's my number two. Number three, I'm going to Mercy. And I know this is not one people talk about a lot. It's slept on. People don't really like A Mercy. I liked A Mercy. I actually think it was very easy to read, much easier to read than some of her other ones. And it was like, but it was complex. It also is very short. I think A Mercy is not even 200 pages. Let me see. It's 167 pages. But it is a novel that hops from person to person throughout the book. So we're going with different narrators every few pages or so. And I think her ability to be able to tell one cohesive story through that, kind of like Homegoing by Ya Jesse. I love when stories can have a central theme and purpose and tell the story of one lineage or one group of people or one family while not having the same narrator the whole time. And I think Toni's ability to do that with this book was great. And just kind of this, it was almost like a retelling of the founding of the country, and it kind of, she did a good job of showing how race was kind of becoming formative in America's early years and how it developed and how it develops as a social construct, truly. And I love that about this book. So this is why it's number three for me. I think I'm going to probably return to this book and revisit a lot. It was really good, and I think people should definitely check out A Mercy if you haven't done so already. It's one of them ones for sure. Next, I'm gonna give it to Sula next. And Sula is number four for me because Sula was a good book, and it was Sula was her own woman, man. Sula did not give a damn about nothing that the people was talking about in that town. Sula came back to that town and tore that motherfucker apart. She gave them hell nonstop. And I loved the way that Toni Morrison centered Sula's identity and her perspective in herself. I also thought the conversations that she had there, and like about one of the things that really sticks out to me in Sula is the intimate domain, and also the gentrification that happens to the bottom near the end of the story. I think it's so crazy how society and life mirrors itself, because that sounded like something that could have happened as easy as yesterday. Like those types of things happen in America still today. And the fact that you see that happening then and see it happening now. She wrote this in the 70s. It was happening in the 60s in the book. And so it's like, and in 2026, we're still dealing with the same shit. But Sula and Nell and the story of that and their relationship and the complexities of sisterhood and womanhood and friendship and autonomy and the choice to be yourself, to choose to be Sula over all the other things in life, to choose to reject all the labels that her mother, that her grandmother placed on her. And it also was just dope to see Toni Morrison kind of like flip. And I always say that this book, a sister book, a companion book for this book would be Their Eyes Are Watching God to me, because Janie and Sula go hand in hand. They're cousins. But it was good for me to see. I always like the way that Toni flips her characters' contradictions about what they believe back to them from another character in the book. Like Sula flipped her mother and her grandmother's contradictory beliefs about womanhood, about identity, about perspective, about desire, about belonging back to them in real time. She gave it right back to them, and I love that about the book, and I love seeing that in the book. And Sula just was, she was it. She was it. And then I'm gonna go next. My next selection for me in my lineup for Toni Morrison books is gonna be Recitatif. I thought Recitatif was a great little short story. I don't know who's black. I don't know who's black or who's white. I don't know if it's Roberta or if the other what's Roberta and Twyla. I don't know who's black, who's white. But I know that it shows me again the perspective of like how race works to divide, separate, conjugate, how race works to divide, separate, segregate, but also unite people about causes that they believe in, about things that they're upset about ways of mistreatment. And it showed me really that you can come from the same circumstances, the same situations in life, the same shared identity, basically. People will lump you together with someone even if they're not black or white, about the same race as you. And once you get into the world and understand the power that you possess as a consequence of the way you're raced by society, you can decide to be someone else and do something else and use and wield power in another way as a consequence of that. And the white person in this book does that to the black person in this book, and essentially they lose their entire friendship because as a consequence of the white woman seeing herself raced another way in the world, she chooses that power, that proximity, that over her friend, and that breaks her friend's heart in the book. But yeah, this is also kind of like a sister book to Sula. I think that this one came after Sula but before Beloved. But these books are kind of like, they're good to read together too. And people always recommend this as a good like intro to Toni Morrison because you understand her prose and learn how she writes, which is true. But I think this is a good one. But it's not my favorite, but it was good though. And then last but not least is The Bluest Eye. And I put The Bluest Eye last, not because it is not like the seminal text that it is, and it is amazing. And Oprah was just talking about it. Folks always love this book. But this is a heavy read, and it is one of those books that makes you sit and ponder and deeply reflect, and you have to pause because to have Toni write this book and the prose. But it is too another funny one because the women, the whores in this book at the whorehouse, as Pecola and them call it, they are very funny in the book. And the way they talk about each other and the men they sleep with is all hilarious. And I just love the way that Toni writes the complexities of blackness and talks about all the ways that we're different, but the ways that we're similar, and kind of makes black people sit with themselves and realize some of the biases that we hold, or some of the ways that we perpetrate white supremacy and white beauty standards, which really come across in The Bluest Eye, because essentially it's about a black girl who wishes that she has blue eyes and literally drives herself crazy because she doesn't understand why the world doesn't think she's beautiful, and she wants to be beautiful. And because of that, she just essentially goes crazy thinking about and desiring for these blue eyes. And she also has a lot of trauma she's dealing with as a consequence of her parents and what they did and how they raised her. But Yeah, this is a great book, but it falls at the bottom of my list for those reasons because of how dark it is. But I understand that there is a need for this book and a space for it because of the lack of protection and also just like the desire to tell black women and little black girls that they are beautiful and as they are. Like they don't need to change or modify or do anything different to know and understand that the world sees them and desires them and their beauty as it currently exists. Um, so yeah, that's my Toni Morrison fiction lineup. I'm so excited to have all these books and really can't believe I've purchased all these books. Shout out to Thrift Books because I definitely bought a good amount of them used from there because I'm not about to pay full price for books all the time. Books are too expensive when groceries are $8 and eggs are $8 a carton. But yeah, I'm excited to read it. And then I'll show y'all my nonfiction works. I already showed y'all, like I said. So this is my total Toni stack. Hold on, let me show y'all my little stack. Let me put this back on top. Put that back on the bottom. Back. Let me know what you think I should read next. Where would you go next? Based on what I said I read already. So I got Jazz, God Help the Child, Home, Paradise, Love, left to read. What would you read next? Anyways, I'm your boy Majoring Low. Thank you so much. I love you for watching, and I appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video, and also follow me. Let me know what you want to see from the page. What other content would you like me to talk about? If you have other things that you care to hear about, let me know. I'm happy to talk about it in another video sometime soon. I'll holler at y'all.